Hola, New Mexico, and online land, and everybody on the internet, and everybody that's here in the native communities in the Albuquerque Valley. I want to make an announcement that I am creating a new YouTube channel that'll be called Indigenous Bizness, with a B-I-Z-N-E-S-S. So you have to spell it with that Z in there if you search engine. And it's already created, it's already there. Right now, just, formulating a, way how to do programming and what topics to cover and constructing it basically and how putting it all together. But I'll explain why I created Indigenous Bizness YouTube channel in a second here. But I just wanted to let you know that the Indigenous Bizness YouTube channel will be launching very soon here. And the reason it was created was to separate it from re-indigenizing minds. Like I said earlier, I will explain why I created this other channel. Re-indigenizing minds, I'm very proud of the work and the content that we put out there. And I'm really proud of the almost like the 100 videos we got out there. But I've come to the conclusion that ancient knowledge that we're teaching out there needs to have an entire channel reserved just for that alone. Or in other words, for the 260-day sacred calendar, for the ancient global mapping, for the ancient decipherments, and so forth, and prophecies and predictions and so forth. That should all be set just for the re-indigenizing minds because of our research of what we're doing that as indigenous scientists and researchers. So that is why I would like to keep all of that to itself and not mix it up with any other topics except to reserve it for the ancient knowledge. Now I'm getting to the reason why I created Indigenous Bizness YouTube channel. Why I created Indigenous Bizness YouTube channel? Well, it would serve as an outlet for the native communities to have a forum to finally communicate with. For all of the money that the natives bring into the state of New Mexico, and for being the largest population of native people in the entire United States in this state, you would expect that maybe they'd help a little bit with the tribes to create at least a newspaper, which they haven't. Maybe help the tribes create a radio station, which they haven't. Help the tribes create a TV station, which they haven't. So apparently there's no interest in helping us in any way of communicating whatsoever. So basically what I decided to do was that since, that's not happening that way, well, at least we have an outlet of being able to create what I want to do with this YouTube channel, which is created on the internet. The Albuquerque native community really has no voice. I mean, there's a lot of us here. The population in Albuquerque for native people is bigger than Los Angeles. But we really have no voice when it comes down to native affairs, and I really believe that they should allow urban Indians to have a representative, not only to be heard, but also to have a vote within the native communities, just no different than tribes. But that's a whole nother subject. But anyway, back to my Indigenous Bizness channel. The Indigenous Bizness channel was to cover the topics that I couldn't cover on the Re-Indigenizing Minds channel, to set it up so there could be video podcasting for other subjects outside of the ancient knowledge that we're doing with the other channel. In other words, maybe we want to talk about UFOs on reservations. Hola, we bring in an expert from the native world about UFOs, and then we open up the chat and we have the native people chat amongst each other about what's going on the reservations with the UFOs. We have a way of communication, a forum. Or let's say we want to talk about Bigfoot, and I know there's a Navajo researcher out there that's a Bigfoot specialist. Bring him in, let him do his talk, let them open up the chat and open it up the lines so that when people are chatting on the chat on the YouTube, that the native community could chat among themselves of what the activities that are going on their reservations, to each other as well as to an expert. And you could bring in other people that are paranormal experts on things, or people that are experts on, say, like, Well, let's say like, native herbs, or, native medicines, or you might even be able to bring in, people that are, that are not even native. You talk to and interview non-natives who are on the same parallel path as what we're doing as native researchers, and there's plenty of them out there. We have the same kind of, outlook of finding out about science as we do, outside of the universities and all of that. People that are, have the same vision. And then the other group I would like to get into is maybe we could even start to do Zoom interviews. Why do I say Zoom interviews? We could talk to our relatives down in Belize and put it on this video podcast. We could talk to Indigenous people all over Canada, Alaska, the United States, Mexico, South America. It could not only bring the little community of Albuquerque together, it could bring the whole Indigenous global community together, into a forum as well. In other words, I would like to bring some other Indigenous leaders from other nations to speak to the native tribes of America. A lot of times we get self-centered and we think there's nobody on the other side of the fence. We're wrong. Sometimes we think there's somebody not on the other side of that fence. We're wrong. There's natives in Canada, there's natives in Mexico, all the way down to South America. And a lot of them come through Albuquerque to do conferences and conventions, and it's just a matter of just figuring out if they have the time and if they're willing to come down and spend a little time with us. And if they could come down, do a live interview like I'm doing right here. If they can't do that and they're too busy and they can't come down, then do a Zoom interview from the motel room. That's why we set up technology. Use it, don't abuse it. So what I did was create an Indigenous Business YouTube channel, and I don't know, maybe down on the comments below, maybe you could put topics that maybe you would like to cover. I mean, like I just talked about the main things. Like maybe there's Indigenous news, maybe there's an Indigenous cooking, maybe there's Indigenous, sewing, maybe there's Indigenous beadwork. I don't know, it's all up to the community. Send in your suggestions. Tell us what you'd like to talk about. Tell us what you'd like to hear. And we'll try to do it through Indigenous Business.